Welcome to your 7th Plymouth District update featuring State Representative Alyson Sullivan. Representative, it's been a while since we've had a chance to
In person,
yes, in a warm climate. And the idea of this particular program is to bring you up to date with some of the things that are going on, not only up at the State House, but also in and around the district. We'll start things off with the rumor of a little redistricting going on.
Yep.
Give us the update as to why does redistricting happen?
So redistricting happens because of the number changes within the Commonwealth and the different districts. So we're allowed to have a certain percentage of people, give or take a couple numbers. So because of that, we need to look at our census reports and see how many people live in the district that we currently represent, and if it's increased or decreased in any way, shape, or form. And if it has, then they, get all together and they try to figure out the best way to really redistrict 160 state rep seats and 40 state senate seats to make sure we're all within those requirements. This year we saw a lot of decrease from Western Mass and a lot of increase in the city of Boston, the areas around the city of Boston, decrease in the Cape and the Islands. So they really had to readjust a lot of reps around those areas to make sure that they were in compliance with the law. My district has changed a little bit. I still represent Abington, Whitman, and East Bridgewater. I still have 3 precincts in East Bridgewater, but I lost precinct 4 and I gained precinct 1. But at the same token, my view is I represent all of East Bridgewater, so I'm always going to be available to even the people that, quote unquote, don't necessarily fall in my district.
Well, and would you say that you're somewhat fortunate? I know that there are some legislators, whether they're a state senator or a state rep, who've seen a significant change or shift.
Oh, most definitely. Some have been completely changed. Claire Cronin's seat, who's not seeking re-election, her seat completely changed to the point where I believe it's majority Brockton in her district itself. So, you're seeing a complete change. And then even the western part of the state, like they're up to several towns that they represent because of the population that's out there. So I'm definitely one of the lucky ones. I get to see the same familiar, friendly faces that I've been able to see the last, 2 sessions.
My understanding is that there may be a move to returning to the State House and
Yes.
instead of doing the remote meetings, that there's going to be a move towards everybody being back in session. Yep.
There's definitely that talk as far as what the new year is going to look like, as far as this being back into full in-person sessions. I very much look forward to those days and hope that we get there. I have been traveling into the State House. I try to get in there at least once a week, if not twice a week. But unfortunately, a lot of our work is being done here because we can't have the public come to the State House. So when I go into the State House, it's just to really catch up on the mail that's being sent there and then the different things that will be in the State House itself. But a lot of my work has been doing remote just because of the State House being closed to the public. So typically what would happen is I could have people at the State House, host them at the State House, have meetings at the State House. But currently right now we still can't do that. So I feel like my job is more effective here in the district where I can actually meet with people.
Let's also bring folks up to speed on some of the bills you filed earlier in the session. Here we are, we're cruising towards the close of the first half of the legislative session, your legislative session.
Yes.
How are some of the bills that you have filed or co-sponsored doing?
We definitely have the Narrows bill, which would hopefully be able to get through. A lot of people are eager to see that bill go through. It was filed by Rep. Steve Azaros, who is a former deputy police chief down in Barnstable, I believe it is, and or Yarmouth. I'm sorry, Yarmouth. He was a deputy police chief. So Canine Nero was shot back in 2018 with his handler Sean Gannon, who was killed in action. And this bill was filed so that ambulance companies were able to help and receive care to the canines that are on duty with police departments when they're injured on duty. Luckily, Canine Nero was able to survive his injuries because of the steadfast work that the police department were doing down there. This bill is a very kind of common sense bill. Doesn't bring anything more to what the ambulances are already doing, and we hope that we can get it through, especially with what just happened in Braintree with Canine Kit.
Sure. How about, I know you are someone who has filed a lot of legislation in regards to domestic violence.
Yes. Yep.
Do you have anything that is making its way through committee or it's had hearings?
Yeah, so yesterday we actually, this past Tuesday we had a committee hearing regarding my domestic violence bills. And two of my big priorities are around, I believe it's House 3841 and 3842. And it's really establishing a commission that would be an oversight over the Commonwealth's services, which they provide sexual assault and domestic violence services throughout our Commonwealth. We saw even pre-pandemic that a survivor could get different care depending on where they went. And this is just to really expand on the best practices that most of our service providers are doing and having a statewide standard so to make sure that a survivor is at least getting the same minimal care throughout the Commonwealth no matter where they're going. You know, as a survivor of domestic violence, you typically seek services outside of where you live because of where your abuser might live. And so that's definitely a thing that we need to bring into play when it comes to our services, and to not just have specific areas in the sense where a survivor can go to.
Is there any particular piece of legislation that it seems to be, there's a good chance that it could make it to being signed into law, or maybe be part of a bill that is bundled?
So I'm hoping that those two pieces of legislation will be able to make it through the process. You know, right now the governor has a sexual assault and domestic violence council, which was an executive order that he put in place. And now that he's not seeking re-election, it's now more than ever that we need to put a commission in place to really be able to combat the domestic violence and sexual assaults that happen throughout the Commonwealth. And you're going to see, you know, post-pandemic, different people that have been experiencing that, you know, with the isolation. You know, with an offender, there's a minimum of care and a standard of care that they need to receive when they are an offender of a domestic violence on the offender side. That those requirements of those services, that no matter where they go and who they go to for their services to hopefully not re-offend, those have a standard. We should be given the same standard to survivors. You
mentioned Governor Baker and his recent decision not to seek another term. Give your thoughts as to not only the governor not seeking a third term, but also Lieutenant Governor Polito not seeking to run for governor.
You know, I was definitely shocked. I think a lot of people were shocked of their decision not to run, especially Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito. You know, a lot of our focus has been around the last 2 years and how they have handled COVID. I don't think anyone was prepared for a pandemic and how to really handle a pandemic. I think they did what they best thought that their best interest was for the whole entire Commonwealth, and they did their best at doing so. Prior to the pandemic, Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito were doing very successful things, and a lot of behind-the-scenes things that a lot of people really don't know about. You know, whether it be grant funding coming back to the district, or, you know, funding through the budget to priorities that really impact our districts. They made sure that, you know, we weren't forgotten about these suburb communities. Because typically before, you'd see a lot of governors where their focus is just on the city of Boston alone. And they made it a priority that, you know, the Commonwealth is, you know, the whole Commonwealth and not just Boston.
Yeah, I kind of felt as though this particular administration did a lot to work with the individual communities and have like a compact to help and assist in grant funding. I think recently you were at one of the press conferences in Rockland. Regarding a water treatment plant that both Abington and Rockland are going to be sharing in.
Yes.
How important has that been, and is that something that you're hoping that the next administration will be mindful of what that program did?
Right. You know, it expands our water treatments to be able to build new property here in the town and with Rockland. You know, I think it's very important, those type of grant fundings that take the burden away from the towns and really allow for town dollars, you know, tax dollars, to be used for more priorities that are able to be reached from the state. And, you know, we oversee the fact that we take over kind of those extra burdens. And this administration, I mean, Lieutenant Governor Polito, I think, has been in this district or around this district. She was at I have to give her credit, she was at one of our vaccine clinics at the senior center early on in 2020-21. And she made it, a point to be very available when it comes to these smaller communities, which I really do appreciate.
Here we are. It's the holidays
Yes.
in the district.
Yes.
What does it mean to be able to attend various functions compared to a year ago?
It's very exciting. I saw you over the past weekend in Abington during their Christmas events, and it's just nice. It's nice to be out. I did the East Bridgewater Christmas Parade, which is really cool to be in again. The craft fairs throughout the district that were going on this past weekend. It's important that we kind of still be mindful that COVID is still a virus that is going around, but it's nice to somewhat have a sense of normalcy. I've been saying that from the beginning. I can't wait to go back to normal, not a new normal. And there's definitely hope that we're getting there.
What do you have for big plans for the holiday? Is it going to be something quiet and subdued, or do the Sullivans really whoop it up around Christmas time?
So, we've been going back and forth. My parents usually host a very nice Christmas Eve party. My grandmother started, my father's mother started it when I was a child, and I remember going to her house as a kid and falling asleep in the car thinking, Santa's above us, can't wait to get home and wake up to all our Christmas presents. And my parents took that on when my grandmother ended up getting sick, and we've been doing it for years now, and it's definitely a nice time to come together as a family and really count our blessings on being able to do that and come together. I don't know if they're gonna host it again this year. We didn't do it last year. We had a very small gathering last year because of COVID, and so my mom's still planning that. But if she decides to do it, I'm gonna be excited and happy to help her in any way I can.
As we are cruising through the holidays, looking ahead to the beginning of 2022, what are some of the goals or some of the things that you'll look for in the new year that you just want to maybe let the constituents know or be aware of?
Yeah, so my goal is to, get as much funding as I can back to the district like I've continued to do in the past. My goal is to be even more accessible than I think we've done a great job at that between Curtis and I to the district, but making sure that we're at events and being able to have those face-to-face conversations, because people have had their lives turned upside down in 2020 and 2021. So I look forward to really seeing the positive of hopefully 2022.
Anything we haven't touched upon during our discussion right now that you want to touch upon before we give any other information out? So
Whitman's going to have, their tree event. I can't wait. We actually are doing a tree in memory of my grandfather. So if you have time to go by the Whitman Park and see all those beautiful trees that are decorated, and they do a great job at that. And it's for the scholars over in Whitman-Hanson. And
if you wanted to say anything or give any holiday wishes to the folks?
Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and hopefully have a blessed holiday season.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and doing so on a regular basis to keep your constituents up to speed as to what you're doing and provide a level of transparency. That's very important these days.
Kevin, I always look forward to doing these. I usually call it Casual Fridays. I was actually at an event earlier, so I wasn't able to be casual, but I look forward to getting back into this normal routine of really having these in-person meetings instead of on the Zoom. It's a little bit better.
You got it. And we want to thank you very much for tuning into a program like this where we do our best to keep up to speed with what's going on in the 7th Plymouth District. Until next time, have a great day.